What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in with a stranger? I was standing behind this guy waiting for the elevator in a hotel one time. We were down in the lobby and it was busy with lots of people coming and going, so he obviously hadn't noticed me. Elevator doors open. He gets in and turns to press the button for his floor, so he didn't see me walk past him on the other side. As soon as the doors close, obviously still under the impression that he was alone, he lets rip the most heinous fart that went on for all of about 10 seconds. Mid-fart, out of the corner of his eye, he spots me standing just behind him. Poor guy almost jumped out of his skin. He's staring at me like he's seen a ghost. I'm staring at him with what I can only assume was a fairly horrified expression, trying to think of something to say to make this whole situation less awkward. As luck would have it, we're both going to the same floor and he's staying in the room right across the corridor from me, so we have to endure an extra 30 seconds or so of mortified silence as we walk down the hall together. I thought about slipping a jokey note under his door, shoulder stayed away from the shrimp tacos at the buffet, but decided against it. Got on an elevator with a woman, and she had on these really nice boots. So I complimented them by saying nice boots. She cups her breasts and says, "Well, you're not shy. Thank you, they are real." And then immediately realized I said boots. She thought I said nice boobs. Longest elevator ride ever. To this day whenever I say boots in any context I do so with a very hard deliberate T. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes everyone. For the record I did say well those are nice too in my head. I was at a movie theater with my brother. We were watching Pacific Rim. During the action scenes he had to fart like a motherfucker so he waited until the music was at its loudest to be inconspicuous. The second he lifts his butt cheek and begins the music stops and all everyone can hear in the movie theater is giant foghorn of a fart. Imagine the music in action scenes. How it builds and builds and builds then has a moment of silence for a bit more drama. Then a fucking shard sounding fart takes it over. The reactions from the people in the theater were laughter, WTFS, and wow really, we were laughing so bad we were crying. Anyway just wanted to share lol. Edit, just seeing all your comments and that this made everyone cry with laughter made me so happy. Thank you everyone. Hooked up with a guy in college and fell asleep in his dorm room. I woke up in the middle of the night needing to pee so fucking badly but unable to find any of my clothes right away. I ended up spending so long trying to find them in the dark that by the time I had enough to wear out in the hall to get to the bathroom I didn't think I'd make it. He was still sleeping so I grabbed a big reusable water bottle and squatted over it. It was blissful relief until I looked over and saw his roommate staring at me in horror. Ha ha ha. I was that roommate once. My old roommate's ex was a sleepwalker and was really bad when she was drunk. One night I hear my door open and she's walking into my room stark naked. She opens up my laundry basket and squats on it and I'm with my GF so I'm whispering Amy. WTF are you doing? Amy and yep, she takes a big healthy piss on all my clothes. As I'm still trying to whisper her awake without waking my GF up she just kind of snaps out of it. The glassy eyes become focused and she goes oh my god and runs out. Next day I leave for work and I come back to all my clothes washed and folded with a case of beer in my room. I work security at an aquatic theme park and was watching Jeopardy in the employee entrance. One of the veterinarians came through and watched it with me for a bit. He said he watches it religiously and he'd passed the test for the show and was hoping to get selected. He'd heard that they like to have a diverse group of contestants, and they hadn't had a black guy for a while, so he liked his chances. A few days later, there are 2 black contestants, so when I see him leaving the next time I say, "Hey, did you catch Jeopardy last week?" "No." "Why?" He responds. "There were 2 black guys on it," I explain. He just stares at me blankly for a few seconds, and walks off. That's when I realized it was a different gentleman than I had the previous conversation with. That time I screamed at a woman over poo. My little village has a small annual dog show. We normally enter our little dog who has one friendliest dog, Waggy's tail and dog the judge would like to take home in the past. This year she was unfortunately in season, so we didn't enter to prevent any fuss from the other dogs but took her along to watch. Halfway across the park she decided to poo and I suddenly realized I'd forgotten the bag. There were loads of other people with dogs around due to the show, so I wandered away a little to ask someone for a bag. I turned back and to my horror a lady was picking up my little dog's mess. Not wanting to feel like one of those a-holes that doesn't clean up, I ran towards her to advise her she didn't have to do that because I was going to get it. Instead, in a sort of panic, I waved my arms and barked, "No, that's my poop." Please note that I did not say, "That is my dog's poo." She physically jumped then turned a deep red. She sort of mumbled an apology, dropped the poo and marched off with her dog. It was at that point that I looked to my left and saw my dog's poo sitting a few feet away from the lady's dog mess that she was attempting to pick up. I think about this at night sometimes. Wife and I went to Europe for our honeymoon. We were in a train station in Amsterdam and I had to use the bathroom. I walked into the toilet stall and saw there was TP in the bowl but didn't think anything of it. I did my business and when I tried to flush, it didn't go down. In a panic I flushed again and this only resulted in the water becoming dangerously close to the rim of the bowl. I said fuck it and started to leave. However, right outside the stall was a bathroom attendant. He looked over at me and started yelling at me asking why was I clogging up the toilet. He was blocking me from leaving and all these other people in the bathroom looked in at us. God, it was so embarrassing I wanted to die. I eventually muttered sorry and brushed past him and ran out of the bathroom. At an art studio in LA, my girlfriend was wearing a denim jacket as we looked at a piece together. Out of the corner of my eye I saw the jacket and I reach over to grab her butt. A sudden "oh" comes from beside me and a woman 30 years older than me is standing there blushing. I tell her I thought she was someone else and run away to my girlfriend. A few minutes later the lady comes and finds us to talk about young love and how cute we are while making too much eye contact with me. Edit. Thanks for the gold, you filthy animals. The most awkward moment of my life thus far was with a stranger. I was in Quebec airport going through customs with my family. Because of some recent changes to their system they didn't have everyone in a line, but instead in a large pen where they would release 50 people at a time. Chaos. When my family is at the front, they release us and everyone is running forward in a mass trying to get to the kiosks. Next to me is a tall Swedish man trying to get his family a kiosk. He is running forward and waving his arm behind him in a come on motion, clearly frantic. Well, somehow the worlds aligned where his middle and pointed finger went perfectly into my two nose holes. Perfectly, as he then ripped his arm upwards to motion his family forward. My nose was also ripped forward, and I immediately began bleeding everywhere. He looked at me in horror. My family looked at me in frustration as we needed to get to a kiosk. The customs agents looked at me in bewilderment. The language barriers made the situation all the more awkward. Edit. Wow. You all really seem to love my misadventures, huh? Being naked under a blanket in front of an ex's dad and dad's friend. It was mostly awkward for me and it doesn't end in an extraordinarily funny way. Story below. Short version is that we had the house to ourselves and had just done some activities in his living room and he went to use the bathroom upstairs while I just sat on the couch naked under a blanket watching TV. Clothes were kinda piled on the couch next to me and BF didn't go fully undressed so he took his with him upstairs. His dad came home early with some friend of his and I pretty much reflexively hid up to my neck with his blanket and scooted over my clothes and just kinda hopped. Nothing was laying on the floor. They said hi and chatted a bit with me. Honestly was probably like 25 seconds but it felt like an hour, and then went to the garage to work on something. I pretty much had to act like a antisocial weirdo by sitting hugging my knees on the couch while just hoping they leave the room and not question why I was sitting like a weirdo. It felt like a sitcom situation. X came downstairs only after they left because he didn't want to make it awkward, whatever that meant. So yeah, more awkward for me but still awkward to be stuck like that with a random family friend hanging around. I used to do security work at parties. One night there was an alert call for a young woman gone missing. I found her with her dress hitched up looking for her underwear in the bushes. I managed to unlock her phone to call her dad, who from his name I recognized as the district attorney. He comes over to pick up his intoxicated daughter. While I was carrying her to the car, she was making very sexual remarks about me carrying her, all the while her father is hearing me out like I was responsible for his daughter ending up that way, even suggesting I had raped her. His lecture continued after I put his daughter in the backseat, still making the same remarks while pressing up her body against the car window. When the cops arrived at the scene, she was stark naked, putting her ass out the window. I told the cops my side of the story. As soon as she picked up my name, she started moaning it to the point of waking up nearby neighbors. I was brought to the police station for interrogation. Surveillance footage proved my innocence. 5 years later, I see this district attorney on a weekly basis at my job. Subscribe for more stories like this. I am waiting. My friend is Kung Fu Panda. Just saying. I guess it is too late. She is near your doors.